Hi, I'm Jennifer Ashley Tepper.
And I am Joe Iconis.
Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about a song called Jeff, which is sort of based on true events.
It is true events-ish. It's based on true feelings, and it's inspired by a place I used to live and some of the things that happened in that place.
If you're the person being sung about in this song, please get in touch with us ASAP.
And also, sorry.
Oh, how I love a novelty mug. I look out my window to admire the view of the window right across that you can see right
So
through.
Jeff is part of, I guess, another playlist that folks could make from their album of songs that are a person's name, which is a genre that we love. So this is a song that uniquely was inspired by an actual human, kind of.
Yeah, no, based on a real person, based on real events. And so I lived in this building called Herald Towers on 34th Street. And it was like my first real apartment. Not like, it was my first real apartment. And the beginning part of my career where I sort of first had come into my own and was doing the Iconis and family shows and was working on, Black Suits and Rewrite and Think Through and Blood Song. All of that stuff happened at this apartment. And so the apartment really felt like a central hub for very many years. And that building, it's three separate towers. It used to be an old hotel. It's at the time, it was actually like it had a nice lobby, and then the building itself was gross. It was like one of those buildings. And so the towers are very close together. And so my window essentially lined up with the window of the neighboring tower, and in that other window was a woman who was often naked in her apartment, and so I would find myself not like binoculars watching, but just sometimes like you couldn't help but notice, in the same way that like sometimes, there's like a bird out the window. Sure. It's like you can't help but notice, there's a naked person right there. And I always thought that would be a really interesting setup for some kind of song. And I thought I initially was like, oh, this is an interesting setup for a song because that sort of New York thing of like, oh, we're all living on top of each other and like, oh my gosh, there's a naked woman across the way feels like the setup for the sort of musical theater song that I hate. Like it feels like it would be the setup for the sort of musical theater song that would be all about like, this guy like getting his jollies, like looking at this naked woman.
It's funny that you think of it like that, because as you were saying this, I was like, this is not only so universal, like we all are walking around in New York and seeing strangers out the window doing things we might not if we weren't living so close together. But it's also like, this was happening in the 20s. Like, what I was picturing was like a Greenwich Village review of like...
Right. Oh yeah. Of, like, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I know.
The Greenwich Village review.
You were focused on what you didn't want to do with your own song, but that's how I thought of it. Yeah.
But the actual experience of it is like, I love songs about, I love, not songs about, but I just love, the idea of people living in a city and living so close together on top of each other. And I love, apartment buildings. Like the apartment buildings themselves are like, they're like containers for short stories, they are. And it's like the construct of an album as like a thing that holds all of these characters and these stories and these snapshots into lives. I mean, that's an apartment building, and it's like, I love that all of these people are just, they're only separated by a wall, or a window or whatever. And, a window, looking at a window is so funny because it's like a stage or something. And it's like, this portal, and there's something going on over there, and it's really no different than a TV or a film screen or a proscenium. Which is all just to say that all of those ideas and those things were kind of bopping around in my brain for a while, and then I wrote this song.
I'm fairly certain that it's so universal that there's no major sitcom that took place in New York for like at least 2 seasons that doesn't have this as a plot line.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's on Friends, it's on Seinfeld. It also weirdly, because I, like you, spent a lot of years in the NYU dorms and then like didn't move out and have my own apartment until after graduation. I feel like in this apartment in Herald Towers might have been the first time that I ever really was like, oh my God, someone's right outside the window and like we shouldn't be seeing that. And like I for a while was like, no, I just wanted to be part of the history of the song. So like I didn't actually see her. I'm like, no, I saw that girl walking around naked.
Yeah.
I remember specifically a night when we watched the Chorus Line documentary, right when it came out, Every Little Step. And I remember like looking and being like, oh, that girl's walking around naked.
Yeah.
We're just watching Chorus Line documentary.
Part of history.
And she became a song. I think it's incredible that whoever this woman is, she's walking around somewhere in New York probably still and doesn't know that there's a song about her.
She has no
idea. We could all just have songs about us and not know. How's that?
That's a good idea for a song.
So this song, in terms of like performances, who has performed this song over the years?
So the first time the song was performed, it was at the Beachman, as most of my songs were performed for the first time. And I sang it. And then the first time someone who was not me sang it was Jeremy Morse, who's on the album singing it. And I think he sang it for the first time at Barrington.
Yeah.
We did a concert at Barrington, and I needed another song for Jeremy. He was already doing this song of mine called The Dirty Little Things, and I wanted something else for him, and I was like, oh, what about that naked girl song? Maybe he would do something with it. And then he, much like Krista singing Broadway Here I Come for the first time and kind of reinventing what that song was, I feel like Jeremy reinvented Jeff and really turned it into a song that feels weighty. And he's an actor. I'm not an actor. I'm like a performer and I can do my own stuff, but Jeremy turned it into this like 3-act play of the song and gave it this weight. And many other great actors have sung this tune. Seth Elliser does an amazing version of it, and many people. Will Rowland does an amazing version of it. But yeah, Jeremy was the person who kind of took it from being like a sort of weirdo, obscure tune of mine to something that a lot of people know and I think can really relate to. And it's another song that it's very, very, very literal for 90% of the song, very literal. And then the ending is something that people always ask me about, or whenever people like sing the song in a master class, it's always so fun for me to like ask the person like, what do you think happens at the end? And everyone's always like, I think I know, but I'm afraid to say, because it is kind of, it's sort of intentionally vague at the end.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is that he falls out a window at the end. That's my interpretation of the song.
I like in the lyrics at the beginning of the song, the conversationality of like the first few feels so very you in a way that sometimes you're writing in character and the character doesn't use the same cadence and like, vocabulary choices as you. But the very beginning of the song, I almost feel like maybe, I'm not saying you like wrote it without thinking about it, but it's like, it just feels like something you would say, the first verse, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's also because the more I sort of worked through what I wanted the journey of the song to be, I really liked the idea of starting it in a very kind of casual, conversational place. And it feels really light. And again, I think it's, the listener is sort of set up to think that the song is going to be one type of song. And then it's very much not. So yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that for sure.
Relatedly, I guess I thought about this. I do remember you performing it. Obviously, there's quite a few times where you perform a song first in public, and then it goes on to be performed by actors, and then maybe also by you sometimes, like Broadway, Here I Come, or there's so many examples. Are there ever songs where you're like, this is a song that I only really want an actor to perform? I don't want to do this myself for an audience. Like, obviously, there's stuff like Sheila Nail, which is like, in context, a very, epic production number sung by a young woman. It's like, it doesn't have anything to do with like the type of the song, like a person who would sing the song. But is there ever anything where you're like, this is a song I only want an actor to perform?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for sure. So many songs. And it's actually, it's more the opposite of that I think about. For me, it's less like, oh, this is a song that I'm writing that I only want an actor to perform, and more like, oh, this is the song I'm writing that I could potentially sing. It's like that. Those are the ones that stick out to me. And like you said, it has nothing to do with the actual, character.
Sure.
That's always been something, in my work that I've always kind of like separated the attributes of the character or the person who I'm writing about, and the person who could potentially interpret that. And so like Sheila Nail is a song that it makes sense for me, vocally, acting wise, whatever. And I think I can communicate the song to an audience in a way that's different than when someone like Kelly McIntyre performs it. But it works, and other ones just don't work, And sometimes I'm not sure, and sometimes like I'll try a tune. Like I've sung Ammonia a couple times live, and it's fine, but it's not the same,
right?
Because it's because musical theater, and I'm someone who, I've said it a million times, I love actors. I'm always going to be someone who responds to an actor first. I'm always going to be like excited by an actor who can communicate a lyric with their acting, and then like singing as a second thought to me. Always, always, always. However, it's like a song, and so it's usually better if you can sing.
Right.
It's like, and like musicals, I think they tend to be better if the people who populate them can actually sing, which isn't always the case. And so I'm fine, but like, a song like
The Actress,
or
might not be your.
It's just not. It's not for me. And it's like, I think that the voice, it's a tool. The voice is a tool, and that's just a tool I don't have, or mine is very specific. So yeah, it's that.
How did you pick the name Jeff? Because it's also like, there are some times where songs are named like the name of the character sings them, that it's in the song, and some that they're not. It's just interesting that it's.
Yeah, I feel like most of my first name songs, most of them, the character's name isn't in the song. So, some of them they are, or the character's name is not the main part of the song. And so the idea behind that is always just that, when you look at lyrics on a page in a musical, for solo, if you're looking at the lyrics, the name of the character, of the person who's singing it, is just the top of the lyric. And so for a song like Jeff or Kevin or Helen Sharp, I love the idea of like the title is just the name of that character. That's all you need, just
right.
that heading. And I think that I picked the name Jeff because it just sounded like a nothing special name. It's like there is nothing remarkable about this man. There's nothing, there's nothing like that. I felt like he was an incredibly unspecial dude, where you're like, you would never like look twice at him.
Yeah.
And I like that idea of just like this man who's the world's, most sort of like beige guy losing his mind in his apartment and going through this whole journey and breaking into someone else's apartment and and falling off the wagon and then falling out the window.
This might be our only chance to do this, so I don't know if you want to, but I want to know who lives in that apartment now, and I feel like putting this out there in the world might be our only chance, but there's no bad thing that can happen from you saying an apartment you used to live in. What was your apartment number?
Oh yeah, it was 10B2.
If you live in 10B2, which now I remember going there, 10B2,
yeah.
Let us know. I don't know what'll happen, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing if it was the girl?
How would that happen?
I don't know.
She was like, I was always looking into that apartment because I admired the drapes in the apartment. Like, I wanted to live there. Yeah.
Yeah. That apartment.
Yeah.
10B2.
10B2, let us know.
Jeff. Hey, thanks so much for listening or watching to my podcast. Do me a favor and go to wherever you just listen to or watch this thing and subscribe or like or give us a great rating or review, and then head to bpn.fm/album to find out even more information about this podcast, more ways to watch, more ways to listen, and check out my album. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Album Podcast is executive produced by Liz Armstrong, produced by Dory Berenstein, Alan Seals, Kim Garris, and the rest of the team at the Broadway Podcast Network. Be sure to visit bpn.fm/album for both audio and video versions of this podcast and to listen to Album.